Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, Dave Patterson, Graham Noble, and John Clark. And this is the Conservative Five, an online TV production of Liberty Nation News. Mystery drones have dominated conversations of late, but it's not the first time. When unidentified flying objects started popping up over the U.S. military installations a year ago, there wasn't much made of it. The U.S. government acknowledged sightings and reported them flying over U.S. nuclear research facilities, with little concern expressed by the national security apparatus. But hovering over New Jersey seems a tad bit more interesting. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission's early December report on lost radioactive materials sparked a possible connection to those mysterious drones over the Garden State. Now that theory has gone up, and away. So what do we know, Dave?
Well, the U.S. government, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Pentagon, they're trying to always dance around this, and they say, well, most of these are explainable. Okay, well, how about the others, right? Several aspects of the story actually don't meet the smell test. There have been about 5,000 drone sightings, we're told, and about 100 of those are unidentified. Okay, so what are you doing about identifying them? Defense Department briefer explained that on any given day, 8,500 drones are flying around. Some are recreational, some commercial, some law enforcement, they point out. However, the U.S. military are not flying the drones. They're very quick to say that. Okay, so law enforcement in New Jersey are the ones asking what the sightings are. So it's not them. Recently, as you pointed out, some radioactive material went missing in where? New Jersey. No one knows where it is or who took it. One theory that someone is using drones with sensors to find the trace radiation emitted is getting some traction. It doesn't take much to connect the dots. Nuclear material goes missing. Drones appear in the skies over the state where the radioactive matter was lost. And a national research laboratory has been working on using drones to detect radiation emissions for at least a year. Such a capability would be very valuable, I would think, for the Nuclear Emergency Response Team, or NEST, that's part of the Department of Energy, Sarah, whose job it is to detect even the smallest amount of illicit stockpile of nuclear materials. Testing that capability with a real-world missing sample of atomic material would, advance U.S. technological research, I would think. It makes sense. But conspiracy theory? Maybe. Maybe not.
Andrew, I kind of know you want to jump in on this one a little bit, just because we spoke earlier, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's back and forth, and I don't like the whole, well, here's what's going on now. No, it's not going on. Just figure it out.
Well, I'm thinking more perhaps Orson Welles' famous War of the Worlds radio drama from the 1938, maybe that case. But, I don't want the Men in Black to visit me, so I'm just going to be careful with my words here and just report on what the media is reporting. So ABC reported recently that the shipping container that Mayor of Belleville, New Jersey cited had to do with radiation source for a cancer center's CAT scan machines. That's ABC. Another thing, Mayorkas, he said that the FAA changed its rules last year so that drones could fly at night. So those are two stories being reported. Now, as for your broader question, if a material like this is stolen, it leads to an assortment of questions. Again, Men in Black, these are just questions. Mainly, why would someone want to steal this? And two, how often does this type of material go missing? So that's the state of it. I'm gonna back off. If it's aliens, nothing we can do about it. It's over. It's done. If it's just government incompetence, well, that's par for the course. If it's just drama, then that's also par for the course in political circus.
But Graham, what's Trump been he has to have weighed in on this. It's his new, he's walking in a little over a month. What has he said about drones?
Well, I believe he's said that we're gonna set up a new system of defense against possibly hostile drones, and it will be probably the greatest defense system in history. No, he didn't really say that, but he will sooner or later. But no, he wants some explanations. He wants the administration to kind of level with people about what these drones are, where they're coming from, or at least where they're suspected of coming from, or shoot them down. I actually love the idea, only in theory. I love the idea of civilians going out there and taking pot shots of these things and bringing them down. But the potential collateral damage could be very dangerous. So I'm not seriously suggesting that. I just think it's a fun idea. And I don't even want to see, kind of the US Air Force going in there and shooting these drones out of the sky, because that will be just as dangerous for people on the ground. I can only assume, as little confidence I have in anything the Biden administration does, I can only assume that because they are being very low key about this and pretty much telling the public, look, just don't worry about it. I can only assume that means that these drones are not coming from any kind of hostile power. They're not coming from any Iranian mothership off of the coast. And I believe that this is probably some kind of federal government sanctioned operation to test something or to perhaps find something or whatever. I can only assume that the people, kind of in the halls of power actually do know what these things are. I'm intrigued by the reports that say that some of these things are almost the size of an SUV. I mean, that's not some Joe Schmo, flying his drone for fun, because, a decent drone, even the size of the wheel of an SUV, costs, multiple $100s. So a drone the size of an SUV, God knows how much that costs. So, that tells me personally is that whatever the reason for these drones being there, someone in the government, those drones belong to some government department, and somebody knows what they're doing there.
Well, then why don't they just tell us? They're not going to harm us. Come on. What?
Well, here's a good point.
This administration drives me a little bit batty sometimes.
It's an interesting question, Sarah, because the obvious answer to the question, well, why not just tell people? Because I'm always tempted when the government does anything in secrecy, I'm always tempted to be the first to say, well, why not just level with people? Why not just tell them what you're doing? And of course, sometimes for national security reasons, you genuinely can't. In this case, I would imagine someone in the administration would turn around and say, well, if we told people what these drones are really up there searching for, that would cause panic. But swarms of SUV-sized drones above your head is not going to cause panic.
Yeah, I mean, come on. That's the Clar, how can the military address this? Can they just supersede and fly up there and take a good look at them and go on? I don't. This is not making any amount of sense to me, and it doesn't make any amount of sense to anybody that I've spoken to. And it's like that stupid weather balloon. And don't tell us some fairy tale.
Well, it is a mystery, and I'll solve it for you here as we all try to speculate on what is going on. And I think that's the sociological, aspect of this that's interesting. It's creating, and I think it is a kind of a war of the worlds context. People have anxiety of the unknown. And I found it interesting to hear Graham speculate on, what they could be. But I think that Liberty Nation deserves an exclusive. They are my drones. I'm flying them here from Vermont. I've been collecting data and information. I don't know why they haven't followed me back here yet to figure it out. But actually, seriously, there's an interesting...
Clar, you want to get us in trouble? What are you...
So then on my drones, I will shoot them. The bigger they are, the easier they are to hit. But I can't say that, I guess. If you're flying over my house, there's an interesting legal question about whether you're invading my privacy or whether you're watching my daughter in the shower. And I might err on the side of asking forgiveness than permission, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what they are and whether the government actually knows and is not telling us, or maybe the government doesn't know. Both are kind of anxiety provoking. Now we're in a context here. Let's think about something. If we study this has been actually going on since October. It's happening at military bases in Germany, 3 different military bases in the UK.
several, it's not just New Jersey, it's also Virginia and Ohio, I think the other state was. Well, that sure looks a little different. And then the Pentagon and
It's not in China, Russia, or Iran.
well, again,
There's no
you know,
drones there.
well, they won't let me fly my drones there, but I'm joking. So look at the context now. So we have a society that's increasingly alarmed over the potential for AI, algorithms, and other things to use technology against us. Everybody's holding their breath to see what's going to happen between now and the installation of a new presidential leader. The current president, some suspect of having ties to foreign enemies who he might allow to look around, like it seemed he did with the balloon you mentioned. So when you take those various things together and then the government can't tell you what the problem is, yeah, it's anxiety provoking. And when it's specifically concerned over a period of months with military installations, I mean, I think you have to kind of be daft not to say, well, you know, what is this? And then when the Pentagon tells you, well, we can't rule out that some of this could be malign intent, but we can't find any evidence of any nefarious problems. And Joe Biden has assured us, and the FAA and the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security issued a joint statement. Well, but they all issued a joint statement, so maybe threateningly together, if all of the agencies together. And so, yeah, well, I think it does. Kind of like with the media, you start to break down trust, you break down the rule of law, and then you wonder why it doesn't work anymore. But so in the end, from what I could study, they're part of that phobia or anxiety may be why there are a lot of reports that are coming in that are apparently stars or planes or, you know, so it's probably a whole collection of things. And yes, the military is telling us they're sorting out what's domestic from foreign, what's, you know, that they can do that, you know, what is a commercial drone. And I think part of the education of this is that these things are not for us in Vermont, but apparently a lot of parts of the country. There are thousands of them. They are constantly over our military installations. This isn't novel. And so hopefully we will see some kind of a veil lifted and get an answer to these questions. But it seems to be almost that the anxiety is sort of feeding back into the confusion and making it harder for the agencies to figure out what's actually going on. I just can't. Maybe it is UFOs. I think you mentioned.
So, Sarah, basically the American people are left with two things. Either the government is lying to you, and that's not
Well, that never happened. So, yeah, read it out and stuff.
That's, when you trot out Alejandro Mayorkas to tell the truth, that kind of substantiates the first condition, or they are so incompetent as to not know what to do. I tend to go with the second. When you have a Secretary of Defense who doesn't know he's supposed to tell the president when he's in the hospital for 5 days, you begin to question whether or not these are the brightest bulbs on the tree.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to cut you short. We're way over. And this discussion should have been a whole entire show. It really should have. We could have rolled that. But, so everyone's talking drones. Well, except the folks that should be. Thanks, panel. And thanks for watching us and keeping an eye out on the skies. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Now, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, or legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for the latest news and commentary. Your choice for free thinking, free speech, libertynation.com.